Right, so as you guys know, Boris Johnson is doing a bit of a shake-up in Downing Street, apparently. He's kicking people out. Technically, they're resigning, but then they're claiming they fired them. And they're doing a bit of a reshuffle. There have been some issues already with the first appointees in Downing Street. And we've got some new ministers coming in. Again, moving around. It's the same team, basically. Well, there are some senior Tories like Bernard Jenkins, part of the 1922 committee, who are very outspoken. They've been very friendly and supportive of Boris Johnson, especially when it came to Brexit, but now they're sending a massive warning, final warning, that make sure that these changes are meaningful reforms. This Build Back Boris, the great reset of Boris Johnson is real and not just a gimmick. I'm going to talk about that, but also, on the other hand, the role of the mainstream media, the likes of Sky News and Beth Rigby, the way they report this Tory infighting is very one-sided and very much with a certain agenda. First, let's listen to Bernard Jenkins, then I'm going to talk about the problem with Sky News.
He's got to sort this out. We're interested not in the optics, in some impression of a reset. We're looking for a change in the capability and the character of the government so that we can have confidence that nothing as clumsy and mortifying as this Partygate episode could ever happen again.
That's fair enough. And that's, of course, the business of the Tory party to sort out they're a mess. On the other hand, let's talk about Beth Rigby and Sky, because the way they started this report stirred the pot. You know, they did it to say that, well, we are the media, we have to report so the people out there, the peasants and the plebs, are informed about what's going on inside the government, because it's the politicians and the government who are running our lives. But they used very, very specific things to push for their agenda. I'm going to make you watch this first, and I'm going to see if you actually have the same view as me.
Improvements to the lives for millions on NHS waiting lists depend on decisions made behind this door. The PM changing his team and the hope it means he can stay.
What's the first thing you're going to do today?
Give healthy snacks and mineral water to the staff.
The new Director of Communications with a not very subtle message, swapping in water for wine. But senior Conservatives' clear staff changes are...
Okay, I'm not going to talk about Gita Harry. I've been talking about it for a lot over the last couple of days. That last bit, did that really help? Did that really kind of contribute to people's lives? Yeah, that was second part of the report, showing Gita Harry walking in with a Tesco bag with some vegetables and water. And that was Sky News' version of saying, look at them. That they think that's the real reform. That's not what Gita Harry is trying to do. I'm not even defending this guy, by the way, because there's a lot of questions around his links to Huawei and all that, allegations. And also just questioning and judgmenting his competence, considering his first day didn't really go well. But Sky News, firstly, focusing on vegetables and water. First part of the actual report focused on, well, there are big problems in this country, the NHS waiting list, and the country is waiting for Downing Street to sort out their mess. The NHS waiting list is a big problem. And that's the problem for the NHS. The whole model is so terrible that it's letting down patients and actually good doctors and nurses as well. It's not really a partisan problem. So they are using that as an emotional kind of tool to basically create division and say that, Tories started this mess, and if Boris could sort it out, his problem with Partygate, then the NHS will be fixed. They're feeding that, they're planting a seed, so that when the NHS doesn't get fixed, because it never gets fixed, regardless of the parties, then they say, well, it was because Boris Johnson ate cake. This is the problem I have with the mainstream media. The bias, the specific angle they use, in a very subtle sometimes way, to brainwash and to manipulate the whole narrative. This is why we need the so-called conservative government to actually be better. Be better at policy, be better at communication, counter these arguments in the mainstream media, so it's not my job to do it. I mean, I love that I'm doing it, but at the same time, it shouldn't be my job. It shouldn't be you guys, your job. You find these stories on social media, you share them with me, you share them with your friends and families. We are fighting the fight that's supposed to be done by the others. We are doing it because actually, as David Cameron said, this is the good example of big society. But it is nonsensical. They can't even get their act together, and they allow a channel called like Sky News that still gets fewer viewers than me in this channel to run the agenda. It's embarrassing, and you need to get your act together. Now, on that note, I'm going to leave you guys be for a while, and then make sure to subscribe to the channel, share the video. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.